I'm going to be bringing up a guest on the big screen here, and I'm going to be looking over this way because that's where, of course, my camera is for my webcam. I'm going to be bringing on Amanda, who's been working with me for years, and I'll, of course, give you a run through on her, but she had a really rocky, failing start, and I'm surprised she actually didn't cancel, but she turned it around this year, and so she's moving up in success. It's in a forward now hockey stick climb. And that's why I wanted to feature her. So she's not a millionaire and she's not a six-figure earner. She's moving in that direction though. And that's why I thought it was important to have her here so that she can share some of her failures and successes, of course, as she's now coming into here. So my name's Christine and I do help people who are building their small businesses. Mostly my forte has been launching and onboarding people who've never been an entrepreneur, who've never done any type of their own business. So that's been where I've been able to excel for the past 15 years, grooming hundreds of entrepreneurs starting a health and fitness business. And then the past 7 years, I joined with a health and fitness network marketing company and basically translated all those skills over to that network marketing business. And that's, of course, is where I then started to help those people groom. So I'm with Team Beachbody and my team is Platinum Presenters. So I've also have been supporting many people be able to do virtual scopes like this. So I would love, of course, to personally mentor all of you all, but I can't, of course, because I would have no time in life. So I do personally mentor people who are directly working with me in the network marketing business. But I thought this was going to be very valuable that you could see Amanda as best as you can and also hear from her because, of course, she's been working with me for years and I don't know exactly, and she'll have to tell you when she starts talking, when she actually joined with me in our business in network marketing. But it's been more like 2 or 3 years or so, I know for sure. But it's been this past year is where she's finally, like, it's clicked. And she's now in that forward motion. And as I said earlier, her business now is moving into that hockey stick climb. Because as a lot of entrepreneurs, as they get started, there's a lot of failure, of course. But if they never find their way, they either quit or they stay in it and then they just kind of stay in the background, or they struggle all the time. So many times people may not change their business, their volume, their team for years. They'll just stay stagnant. Well, that's not Amanda. And that's why I wanted to bring her on because she's really has a mature mindset. She's young, but she's got a mature mindset and has been really growing her home business. And that, of course, is one important reason why I know this is going to be valuable for you. And why don't you give a little introduction of yourself?
Yeah, thank you so much, Christine. I really appreciate it. And I'm happy to be on this tonight. Woo! Okay, so I actually joined in 2011, so it's been 4 years. And I did start out, like you said, really rocky and not really understanding how to effectively spread my message and get myself out there and attract the people that I really wanted so desperately to attract. And I feel like that word desperate is just speaking the truth because I was. When I came into this, I came into it because I had success with one of the products. And I found you, of course, because my husband, we had a connection there. So I knew nothing about network marketing or, business or anything to do with any of this whole world. I was a young entrepreneur. I had my own massage therapy business, but that's so different than this. And I feel like it took me a long time, 4 years, to really get it. And failure was not an option, I guess is where I would start. I really wanted this from day one, and it was just a matter of figuring out how to make it work for me and then applying that and actually implementing everything that I had been learning. So that's kind of a little bit of the background story of how I got started, how I found you, and my rocky start to all this.
So Amanda Sliski works with me. We are on the Team Beachbody Coaching network marketing business. And as she said, she joined about 4 years ago. And it's kind of funny. This world is so small. She lived houses down from my sister back in my hometown. And when she contacted me, she was actually friends with my niece's friend. And I was kind of like, oh no, this is kind of awkward because you should be joining with my niece's friend because they're connected. And I never want to take someone away from their connection. But she really, of course, wanted to make sure that she was moving forward, and her friend at the time wasn't doing the business. So that's why, of course, she said, no, I really want to get started. So that's how it all started. And we didn't really meet until just this past weekend? No.
Yes.
Was that the first time?
Yeah.
Oh, or not this past weekend, this past summer. Oh my gosh, that is crazy. So to give you guys an understanding of it all, so she failed a lot in the beginning, and I gave her the tasks of what she should be doing for in terms of doing working with people and getting them into accountability groups, and how to share the business, and how to promote her business in her massage business, and also how to remove some of the time that she was giving to her massage business to be able to focus on a lot of the activity that could grow this one, because this one is the one that can pay a lot faster and stronger and longer. So it's a matter of deciding to give up your time to keep working for someone else, or are you going to schedule some of your time to really figure this out? Because when you can figure this out, it can go. And the first years, so let's go back into Amanda. So Amanda, when you first started then, what were you doing wrong then? So if you were following the actions and the step-by-step processes that I was teaching you to do, what were you doing wrong now looking back?
Yeah, looking back, it's really very clear to me what I was doing wrong. I was learning, and I was very plugged into the training that you provided us, but I was not implementing it the right way. So I just wasn't applying it because, I don't know, I was struggling with figuring out who I was and who I wanted to attract. I guess that would be the first thing. It's kind of a loaded question for me. Let's see, I have a lot of notes that I wrote down.
Totally, go for it.
But the first thing I want to say is that it started with a decision. So yes, I when I initially came into this, I remember we had that first talk, and I was like, I want to rock this, I want to go. And then it was like failure to launch over and over and over. And in 2014, it was like, I was so sick of failing that I was like, I'm going to succeed. Like, it was a different mindset. And I was like, I don't care how many times I have to fail, but I'm going to do exactly what you say. And I'm actually going to apply it and take action. Because I think that was the biggest thing is I was like learning and taking it all in, but then I wasn't actually doing it.
That's my question.
Actually following it.
So you knew what you were doing. So you were taking in the information. You knew you were supposed to be doing those steps, but when you were actually supposed to be sharing the business, you actually weren't then?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, totally. I was so afraid of sharing this business. I felt that I lacked credibility. I thought that I guess I was insecure. I didn't see how I could really make a difference in somebody else's life because I wasn't succeeding with it. So I had a lot of self-doubt and a lot of things that I had to work through before. And I think that's where it comes back to that decision last year where I was like, enough. Like, I don't want to let this limit me anymore because I realized that I'm stopping myself from succeeding. And that bothered me. I couldn't blame it on anybody else but myself.
Yeah.
And I think it was like a real like wake up call. Like, this needs to happen, and I'm the only person who can make it happen.
So then how did you then get enough confidence to now know, okay, so I have to share the business with people. I have to share the products with people. I have to call people. How did that decision of you saying, I got to do this, then to actually do it? Like, how did you gain that confidence then to get over yourself?
Yeah. Okay. So the first thing I did was I totally put myself out there in a different way on predominantly Facebook, on social media. So in the past, when I failed, I was being very salesy and just trying to sell the product. And even with people that I knew face to face, it was the same thing. It was all about the product and it's so awesome. And, you know, the typical things that I don't know, that you see a lot. And what I did was I took down all of that and I just like erased it. And I was like, I'm not going to talk about any of that. And I'm just going to keep this like 100% real. And I had to do like some soul searching and figure out who I was. And I think I always wanted to put out that image of like being perfect and, you know, I use the products and that kind of thing. So what I did was I started sharing my struggles. I started really being like genuine. And I noticed that when I started actually crafting what I was putting out on social media, that I was getting such a great response back. So I realized that when I shared that, I had an eating disorder, and I shared what maybe somebody else could relate to, that I was getting just so much more engagement and positive feedback. So I kept doing more of that and more of that. So I would say the first thing is just marketing myself and being real and stripping away all that salesy product stuff, because it didn't work. It'll never work, I don't think. So that was the first thing. And then the second thing is
wait.
really
Let me jump in.
Okay.
Yeah. So let me jump in. So I want to give you guys my perspective of her when she was starting, because so for instance, her perspective, she just gave you what she was doing wrong, and then how she finally just was fed up and decided she was going to move forward and start doing this and get over herself and to start share her struggle. Now, I'll tell you from my perspective, of course, being her coach and giving her direction and trying to help her be successful, this is what I saw her continuing to do, and she just wouldn't stop doing it. She was trying to be someone she was not. She was trying to play this fitness professional, and she wasn't at the time. Right? You weren't teaching at the time, right?
No.
Yeah. So she was trying to be this like fitness professional expert and trying to push people to follow her for that reason. And then she was kind of playing that elite card of, I eat perfectly healthy and I always work out all the time. I have no struggles with all of this. And then her messages, so all of her content that she was putting up on social media was very salesy. It was those scopes where I make fun of getting a tattoo and constantly wearing logo wear, and the only thing you could talk about at a party is your products and your business. That's what she was doing. She was constantly talking online, because obviously that's as much as I could see of salesy type information, and she was trying to play like she was someone that she was not. She was not showing who she was. And obviously you're in your 20s, but do you feel that it was a maturity level? Because that was 3 years of struggle. Do you feel that kind of comes into it?
I do. I also wanted to say that I felt disconnected from what I was representing and then like what my life really was. There was something not connecting there, because I'm a 20-something-year-old and I was like, I don't know, just there was something where it was missing. Yeah. I do think there was a maturity thing. I've always been mature for my age, but I just don't think I felt like I was being authentic. Just to sum it up, something was off, where I was kind of living a double life. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I was living a double life. That's what I felt like.
So let me ask you this question. This is a very candid question. It just kind of popped up in my head. So in your beginning phases, were you just telling me what I wanted to hear because you were intimidated or scared?
That's a good question. I would probably say yes.
Okay.
Yes, honestly, I was. I always, like I said, I always felt like I had a purpose and passion in this, and I always really, really wanted to succeed. I had to get over myself. I really did. And yeah, every time I came to you, it was like, I felt like help. Like, like I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but it always came back to me. So
yeah. Well, because you had come back to me. So for instance, with her trying to make this happen in her beginning phases, again, she was following that pattern of not really following through with being her real self and also effectively doing the marketing properly. But then she would disappear for a little bit. So she was that entrepreneur that pulled away and kind of disappeared from connecting with me. And then she would come back and be like, okay, I want to focus on this again. What do I do? And so when I start having those coaches come to me that are in and out, in the initial I tell them, okay, here you go. This is exactly what you should do. But I don't spend more phone time with them yet until they've proven that they're actually moving forward with their activity. So then she would, again, still try her same type of techniques and tactics, even though I gave her direction of what she should do. And then she'd fall back again and go MIA again. So then she would come back again and be like, no, this time I'm going to do it. And so for me, I have to view this as this girl's not serious. So I would just always in an email say, okay, well, this is your next step. So it's not that I dismissed her. It's just I needed her to prove her talk. And so I gave her direction on exactly what she should do. And this is what you guys got to think about when you're working with other entrepreneurs, that you can't keep giving of your time just because they keep now coming back again a third time, a fourth time saying, I'm ready, I'm ready. You give them direction, but then you wait and watch. And if they follow through, that's when then you develop more time. And that's honestly where we've come into a relationship now. So to kind of give you guys a gauge of what Amanda has been able to do this past year, she moved her business into a rank level that is basically by the company standards of a serious entrepreneur. It's called a diamond level. And for people who are achieving diamonds, that means they've now built a team of people under them that they're responsible for helping them have success. For instance, Chelsea is on here, and Chelsea is with Amanda, sponsored on with her team. And so she finally moved to that rank, and she's moving past that rank and also increasing the money, which I'm going to talk about in a second. And I'm not going to divulge what she's making, of course, because that's her privacy. But this was the year where she changed, because I every year offer a reward trip for the people who work directly with me, that when they move up in their business and their rank, they come to Dallas, Texas for a weekend. They can bring a guest, and we get to spoil them, my husband and myself, with a weekend of just stupid fun. It's not sit down in a conference training, because we don't want to do that. We do that all like this, by virtual business. So we come, and John and I, my husband, get to thankfully spoil them with tons of gifts and experiences and workouts, and just hanging out by the pool at my house is one of my favorite times, because that's where we get to really connect. And that's where Amanda was able to bring her top coach, Chelsea, who's on as well. But that actually, and I just didn't even realize it, because again, felt like we knew each other. That was the first time we met in person. That's just crazy. So let's go on. So let me know now. Okay, so now you've got things happening in your business. So what's kind of that next step that you were moving into, and I cut you off?
Okay, so the next step that I really started focusing on, like pretty much 100%, was my relationship building. And I was not doing that at all in the beginning. Like I said, it was 100% salesy, and I did not devote any time into actually cultivating and building solid relationships. So I've been able to do that pretty much exclusively on Facebook. And I spend a lot of time invested in other people. So I feel that has built a lot of trust and rapport. So in the past, just to sort of like compare, none of that was going on. And if I did invite somebody to take a look at it, it just came out of the blue, and it wasn't very genuine. It was kind of cold. And then now it's just totally different. It's funny. I actually went way back in my messages from like 2011. Yeah. And some of the people who I had done that the wrong way are actually either on our team or now, because I actually went back and I like started from square one, and I just started, forming and developing that relationship without expecting anything in return. And I could do that in my massage business. Like I had great connections with my clientele, and I could do that face to face, but for some reason with this business, that's where that disconnect was. So that's the biggest thing I did in 2014 was I actually started just being so genuine with forming my relationships with people and not expecting something in return. And if I found that they had a need for it, then it would come out, and we already had that trust developed. So a lot more people started saying yes to me when they realized I had their best interest, at heart. And so that was a big decision, or a wake up call, I guess, a realization.
So for instance, when you said that in the beginning, you were really kind of rushing through and not really having a relationship with people, because, a lot of times people will throw this, just get to know people, build a relationship, and your business will grow. Well, that of course takes time, and a lot of people, of course, are very impatient. But let's kind of get some gauge of exactly what do you mean when you said in the beginning you would be more dismissive or kind of cold and not really building a relationship. What is different now? Like in terms of, give me kind of some examples, like kind of conversations and how you would handle maybe a business exposure or something like that.
Okay, yeah. Well, for instance, years ago when I first started, I didn't really connect with people on Facebook. So I had my closest circle of friends and family, that we tend to use Facebook that way in the beginning.
Yeah.
But I did not go out of my way to reconnect with somebody who I had lost touch with. So I had a very small list of people that I felt I could even put this in front of from the beginning. So what I started doing was I started reaching out to people who I used to be friends with, or people that I used to work with, or that I used to really like. We were friends in high school, maybe 10 years ago. And I have not talked to them since, 10th grade. And I just started reaching out to all these people and just being, like I said, genuine, like just being myself and saying, hey, how are you? I saw that you had a baby. Congratulations. And when you come at it like that, you're just being friendly, and those people knew me from back then. Yep. So they didn't feel like I was being weird, reconnecting with them. And I think once you do that, you always said, Christine, you need to be in their world. And that's what I started doing, is just being in their world. So it does take time. So if that's the initial message, just opening up the lines of communication, I mean, it can take weeks or days, or maybe that day before, you get to share the business with somebody. I guess you never really know, because a lot of times people are watching what you're doing. Yeah. And if you're consistently marketing yourself, in a non-salesy way, people are seeing it. So a lot of times it just came up automatically. Like, oh, I saw you're doing this. That's so cool. And then it kind of just opened up the door for that. But if I had never extended, the hello, how are you? It would have never happened. So
So let me ask you a question then. So for instance, opened up the door, because I've had the exact same experiences, of course, going back with old high school friends and everyone that is back in business with me. So you said they didn't think it was weird because you didn't lead with, hey, how's it going the past 10 years? And do you see this drink I'm drinking? Like, you didn't lead that. You just wanted to catch up, like a high school reunion or whatever reunion, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Yes,
So you then stayed in their world, connecting more so on Facebook and all. And then when you said, for instance, they're watching you, that is the truth. That when you share the business with someone, and even if they say no right away, they are basically putting up a wall of protection for no, to buy them time to stalk you a lot more. So that's what they're doing, is they're sitting back and they're just going to start to watch your activity. And a lot of the activity that they'll watch is, in their mind, they keep looking at it and going, is that something I could do? So for instance, the type of activity that she must have been putting out there publicly was showing that she's not selling, because those people would not have come to her to say, hey, I want to do this too, if she was just putting product up there and talking about this business on her social platform. She was being of value and helpful, motivating, positive, and showing that life is improving as well. Would you agree?
Yes, absolutely. Cool. Yes.
Okay.
100%.
So do you have another point you want to talk to, or do you want me to ask you another question?
The other thing is, when I started having those conversations, and let's just say that it came up that somebody had a need for the product, not necessarily the business, but the product. And what I used to do is I would just vomit the information, like, this is the price and this is what it does and it's so awesome. And I would go back and look at those messages and just be like, no wonder the conversation stopped. Like, no wonder. So what I started doing was I really started stopping and figuring out why. Like, why do they need this? And that takes longer, but I had such a better success rate of getting people to join me when they identified their why for me. So that was just another key thing with the forming and the messages, was actually stopping and figuring out, why do you need this? Yeah. Maybe you don't need it. I don't know.
Yeah, because you probably take the same approach where, like, I think this way. I'm not just going to sell someone something just to sell them, because we get a lot of people coming up to us saying, I just want to buy that product. And like she said, I really love that she just said, let me stop and say why. So don't say exactly why to them directly like that, but in your first head, in your mind, don't immediately say, yes, it's this price. That you immediately just stop for a second and then ask them a question to find out exactly, is that the right direction and approach for them? Because they're going to trust you a lot more when you're protecting their back and not letting them spend nonsense money. I'd prefer people, save a buck and get the right program rather than buy the one that's most expensive because that's the most popular,
Yeah.
So cool. So do you have anything else, or can I start talking about your husband yet?
No, you can start talking about it.
Okay. So her husband actually went to high school with my niece. And the greatest part about those two, I got to ask you this question, because now watching them online, of course, he's right there with her side by side, having success story and testimonial, of course, personally on himself, because obviously we're in the health and fitness business, that they do it together as a team. And nothing's more powerful, of course, when a spouse or partnerships can come together and support each other, because then that again just puts more legitimacy on her business. Because of course he's successful. You said he's a nurse, right?
Yeah.
So he's a successful nurse, and she of course was in massage, and she's now group fitness as well. But when a lot of the times, and not just taking this direction, but in the business that we're in, network marketing, it's predominantly a lot of the women will start the business first. And the spouse usually just says, go have fun, go do your little fun game thing. They don't look at it as real. And not until you actually start making serious, real money, in which my husband had no idea for 2.5 years the kind of money I was making. And I had hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank that he had no idea about. He didn't know because he wanted nothing to do with it. That's what he did. And so when the spouse or the partner now supports and actually does business activity, for instance, the videos and promotion online showing that this works, that puts a lot more weight into what she's doing is legit and for real. But let's go back to the beginning then. So how did Steve feel about this whole thing when you were getting started and struggling and failing? And then did he have a turnaround point?
Yeah, he definitely did. In the very beginning, he just saw me so frustrated all the time and not succeeding. I mean, first let me say that he was supportive from the very beginning, from day one, because of course he told me about you. So he was on board with this from the beginning. He believed in it. He believed in me, and he has 100% been a huge support to me from the beginning. But he definitely saw me struggle. He saw me upset, failing, and that is not the most encouraging thing when you're trying to get your partner to come on board and help you along with this when they don't see you succeeding. So when I made the decision, I'm not kidding, it was like it was like a breakdown. One day we were in the living room and I was just like in tears. I was just like, I don't know what I want to do with my life. And I was just at this turning point, and that was kind of the decision, like, I need to do this. And that was the day where he basically was like, if you want to do this, then you need to do this 100%. Yeah. And like, I've got your back, And from there, anything I said, he was just like a really good sport about. So yeah, we've like done videos, silly things. And I just think it's important for, like you said, Christine, like for people to see that, we're kind of like, we're a team, and that's there's strength in that. So there was a turning point, but I really think it had to do with me first. Okay. Like I said, he was always supportive, but that one night kind of changed everything. Yeah.
So for instance, now to kind of jump a little bit ahead. So today, the reason why this popped in my head last minute was because, of course, today, which is Thursday, is our pay days. So every Thursdays, we log in and we see kind of how we all did. And then I check, of course, and see how they did. So I just was in my business center that Amanda's in, and I was just looking to see, because in our business, I get part of her paycheck. It's called a check matching bonus. So I get 10% of her team bonus. And so I looked at the pattern of her bonuses. So every week, her bonuses. So I don't make commissions off of her commissions. I only get it off of the team bonus. And so I was looking at the pattern, and I started going back weeks and weeks and weeks again. And I started just tallying up the past 3 months to see kind of where she is in her business. And of course, I know we're going to talk about this in a second, about how business isn't just all like rainbows and beautiful stars now. I mean, it's a struggle. Even for my own self, it's still a struggle. But I just noticed this now progression of forward. So she wasn't making the little $14 team cycle bonus every week anymore. She now moved that up. and it's now into a higher substantial where it's now actually, pretty substantial that it could even pay a mortgage per month. So that's where she's moved from, where she was making this little pincy $14 a week. Now this past year, she's now moving into where she could easily be paying her mortgage with the money that she's making just in that commissions. And that's not just in the cycle bonuses. And I don't know the rest of her paycheck. So I don't know the rest of her sales and commissions and all that stuff. I only see that one part of it. So that's why she stuck out to me, because I knew the struggle that she had and the kind of wrong course and direction that she was going, and kind of that personal struggle with her own self of who am I and what should I be offering for value for people. I saw that transition with her. And then this year, just a complete 180 and a flip. And now seeing that growth of money, honestly, I was so happy to see that. Like, you don't know how happy I am, because it's like a stress to me when I turn and I look at that money that people are making and the people who I really want to do well. And now seeing that growth, of course, it just makes you happy knowing that this is going to be bigger and this is going to be a big, huge income that's going to surpass her husband's. And the thing is that they lived in New York, as I said, a couple doors down from my sister, and they just moved. So she came out to Dallas the first weekend of August, where we did our Platinum Experience event where we get to spoil them for the weekend. And so tell the story of your decision of why you wanted to move and where you moved to.
So that was kind of part of this decision of, am I going to do this thing or am I not? Because we made a decision. We came out to San Diego, California, right before we got married in 2013, when I was still not making anything on my business. Mm-hmm. And we had decided that this was just such a super cool, laid back, fun place. And we had never moved out of our hometown of Central New York, which it's a little hometown. So we're like two little fish in a really big pond here. But anyways, we decided that when we moved, we were going to do this thing. So when we moved to San Diego, it's been a month now. So we finally made the move that I would be doing this full time, that I would not be massaging here, because with massage, I would have to start from square one and build a clientele. And I just didn't want to do that. So yes, we came out to Dallas, and that was so awesome. And it was I left on such a high. And then when I came back to New York, we had to pack up our house. And in 10 days, we made the trip cross country. I quit my job. It was crazy. So here we are, and I'm doing this now exclusively. I have nothing else to fall back on. So this is kind of a really exciting time.
Yeah. How did you recruit others effectively? Yeah. So how have you been recruiting people now, especially where you've kind of gotten through some of your high school friends' past relationships, right? So now kind of what is your activity to find new people now?
Yeah, I learned pretty quickly that I constantly have to be adding new people to my contact, to my list in my world, so I can be in there. So one of the things that I have been doing faithfully is I'm still a part of several massage therapy groups on Facebook. So there's thousands and thousands of members in these groups. I think I'm a member of maybe 5 of them. And so I'm frequently interacting with people. And that's been one of the ways that I've been able to, again, genuinely friend request people and start that relationship building from people that I don't know in real life. And that's something I never used to do before. I wouldn't even know where to start, but that's, I guess, my number one thing is I connect with people in groups, and I find a way to have a connection with them on Facebook.
Okay. So this is actually really great that you're talking about this, because especially where she is now in her life. So she's finally kind of turned the corner for the past year. She's really kind of, grown her business, especially with the people that she knew locally and in her past. And then she's uprooted her life from, I know this feeling because I did it too, moving from Central New York and moving to a very popular state. So she now lives in San Diego, and I moved to Dallas, Texas. It's hard to leave your roots because now you're starting from square one. You don't have family out there, or do you? No. So no family, no friends. You got to start new friends, and everything's square one right now. So my advice, so this is advice for you nonetheless, if you move or not. But my advice, of course, for her, especially since this is going to be her full-time strong focus, that her activity has to be solid with your lead capture. So for instance, your email content, your capture forms, her social media marketing really has to kind of get up. And the only way to up your social media marketing is to have a better understanding about it. So for instance, you could be running Facebook ads, you could be putting up YouTube videos and making great content for all of your stuff. That's fine, but you got to learn how to do it even better. So that's what needs to get done, but how do you actually make a Facebook ad work more efficiently? Where should you be spending your time? What is pulling people in? So one strong step that she should be doing, of course, is making sure that her freemiums, so for those of you who know what that is, it's a free gift that you'll give off to people. So for instance, if you have a blog and you tell someone, hey, can you put your email in and I'll sign you up for my newsletter? Well, no, people don't want to sign up for your newsletter. They want something. So what she really has to have that people want is some really good, tangible, juicy freemiums that people will want to give her email for so that she can work with them. Now, being a fitness professional as well as a massage therapist, I hope you guys took note that she said that she's in a lot of those groups. So she's finding people by being in groups of her world. Remember we talked about this just a couple hours earlier. You got to pitch to your niche. So she's going to her niche. And that's just one part of her niche, is the massage world, of course. And she can even dive deep into like the healthcare nursing side too, because of her husband being in there. And he's obviously signed as a coach too. So that's the thing, is you got to go to where the people are that are like you and start supporting and friending them, and not just get in there for that intention to sell them. But this is what happens, is when you're in those groups and you're helping people, supporting them, commenting, liking their stuff, and you're a frequent person, people start to pay attention, much like you guys are here in the comments. When you see someone and they constantly are being supportive, you're like, who is this person? And you click on their name to view the profile. You want to see who the person is. That's what they do in Facebook as well. So then when these people get interested in who's this girl being so awesome, they click on her name. They're going to go to her page for Facebook. And if her page is not set up properly to make them feel welcome and that there's more to her, that she's just awesome and she keeps giving awesome stuff away, they're going to leave and forget about her. But if they come to her page and her cover photo is a great cover photo that really attracts people in and offers something that they might want. So here's a big tip. Everyone that you are working with, you have to think, why would they need that? So for instance, when you say, oh, totally, people would want my meal plan, or people surely would want to know how to do home massage. Why? That same question comes back. Why? So what? So what? So if you can keep answering the so what and what you think people want from you, they're gonna want it. So for instance, if your cover photo was teaching someone about how to massage your fascia, like for instance, because for instance, carpal tunnel is a big problem for a lot of people, especially these days with typing, and being able to massage yourself, massage is important. So if she was going to give away something that taught people how to do these quick techniques, that would be great. But that's her idea of what people might want. But she now needs to help them with, this is going to help you so she needs to answer the so that, fixing problems and make your life easier. And that's what you guys need to do. So her marketing now needs to step up. She needs to be a lot more diligent about your time management and making sure that you're efficiently doing your work. Of course, that's going to produce results as well. So do you only talk about your products and what you sell on your freemiums? No. So no. And your freemiums, they're not your products. You love your products. So if you say, hey, I'm going to give you guys this tip sheet on how great my product is and how it's going to benefit your life, who wants that? Nobody wants a tip sheet on a product that they don't use, that you love, and that they know that you're going to sell them. They don't want that. Your free gift has nothing to do with what you can sell them. It has nothing to do. It's your niche market. And if you don't know what to be giving away, again, go to my youtube.com/Christine Dwyer and go to the Periscope Live playlist, because I ran a scope teaching you guys exactly how to identify what you have to offer for value, how to set up a sign-up email capture opt-in form, and how to deliver the goods. All of that is there. Just search for opt-in and email. So that is going to be a strong step, of course, for her. So let me ask you then, with where you're going with this now, and knowing that you have to really put a lot of focus in here, it's still going to be a challenge. Like right now, this is an easy time for her business to dip down. And of course, knowing that there's always a momentum going up. How do you handle those moments of businesses cyclic and coming down? What do you do mentally, as well as do you change your type of activity in your work?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I feel like, yes, there's always peaks and valleys, and I guess, yes, I do change up what I'm doing to answer that. If what I'm doing isn't working, then I'm not going to keep doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. So I think that that's something I realized a long time ago, that, we have to constantly be evolving and changing what we're doing, or how you're presenting it, or the things that you're saying, or how you're putting yourself out there. So I think that I'm always taking a step backwards and kind of figuring out, like, okay, this is not working, so done. Like, I'm moving on to the next thing. So yes, I'm constantly evaluating that when I'm at a lull. Mentally, I just dive really deep into personal development, and I realize that we all struggle and we all go through, the same kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Maybe not the same way, but we all have our obstacles that we have to overcome. So in the past, I probably would have been really set back when something, doesn't go my way, or I had a bad week. But really now I really try to surround myself with positivity and connect and plug into the things that I know are going to help me through those times.
Mm-hmm. That's what I do too, because it doesn't matter. I mean, I've had great success, of course, in my business, but I still have the exact same cyclic lulls. So for instance, the first 6 months of my business was a challenge. I wasn't really finding people who wanted to do this business with me, or moving with a lot of the products. But I also did focus a lot of the first 6 months of the year creating 2 training portals for my downline and also for my personally sponsored coaches. I spent a lot of time training people. I gave of myself to run programs and training. So I had to accept that there was going to be fallout somewhere. And that was because a lot of my business activity was falling out, and I was trying to ride on the breadcrumbs that I left last year, pretty much, which you can't. You got to constantly keep putting the breadcrumbs out there to keep that forward motion in that pace. So like you, I kind of do the same thing. And when I'm trying so hard and making the business work, I do reflect back on, well, what am I actually doing every day? Like, am I supposed to be doing something that I just fell off of and I just forgot that I'm supposed to be doing that? Or what I also do is I dive into a lot of the podcasts teaching me new skills. So I don't really need, I think everybody needs personal development to keep their mind positive, but I'm not that person where I need to plug in and hear some motivational message to get inspired again. I'm not that person. I just need time away to repurpose what I'm doing, to reevaluate, but also to take in the new information that's coming out now. Because if you guys know, if you're building on social media, it changes all the time, that you constantly have to stay up on how it works. And the biggest rule of thumb is what always works is shoe on the other foot. So what always works is if you put the shoe on the other foot, would you respond to what you're doing? So if you're putting that Facebook post out or that Twitter tweet out, would you respond to that? And that's always going to be a good gauge on how you're doing. So let's see. You taught me how to introduce myself in a quick, flashy, but tasteful way. Perfect. So for those of you guys who want that little quick tip sheet that I gave away, teaching you guys how to quickly identify who you are and what you do, or how to create your short little bios that grab attention, or your about sections. If you struggle with filling those out, and if they're not filled out, you're silly. You need to get those filled out because those are searchable terms. In Periscope, people are not going to find you by searching for your name. They're going to find you by putting in key terms. in the search field. And if those key terms are in your bio description, you're going to come up. So that's something to think about when you want to be found. So if you need to know how to fix that, as well as if you want my tip sheet on Periscope hacks and tips, as well as my video teaching you how to do the split screen videos that I put up on YouTube, just go to theperiscopescoop.com. So again, theperiscopescoop.com, and those things will get emailed out to you within like 2 or 3 days of each other. So you'll immediately get them. But that's going to be critical, is knowing exactly how to introduce yourself. So thanks so much for saying that. See, the Periscope Scoop, advice to get people interested in your product. It's not a matter of getting people interested in your product. It's a matter of finding what someone needs. So it's not, again, going up to someone with your pills and saying, don't they look cute? Like you want some, right? I haven't taken them. You can't make people want your product. You have to find a need in their life that matches how you may be able to help them. What do you think about that?
I totally agree. Yes. You have to figure out why they need it and what they need specifically. Because if you can't determine that, I don't know. I think that comes off as being salesy. That's just me. I think if you get them to tell you why they specifically need it and why it's right for them, then you're no longer selling it.
Yeah.
Well, you're answering the problem.
Well, usually what happens is when you're putting up content, so when you're putting up a lot of valuable content that people are connecting to, and it's matching their world, their niche, as well as their goal of where they want to go, eventually those people will then private message you. And usually what takes place is they'll private message you, they'll spill the beans of their ghosts in the closet. That's what they do. They'll tell you a lot of big story about what's going on with their life and where they want to go and can you help me? That's their initial message. And I say this all the time, the amateur entrepreneur comes back and says, oh, thanks for telling me that. You said that you've got all these problems. Well, good news. I've got this pen that is going to fix that for you. And it's only $50. You want to buy it? Go to my website. Here's the URL. That's what an amateur does. But that's not what you do at all. You basically have that conversation circling back to what Amanda did with her longtime friends. She just had a conversation wanting to get to know them again, know what's going on in their life, seeing where their struggles are, and diving into that. Because then when you can ask them a lot of questions to really kind of be like a friend to them, that's where then you can uncover their needs. So for instance, if they come back and then respond to your questions, saying something where they're struggling with this point, your response isn't, I've got a product for you. Your response normally is, well, this is what I do. If you want to try it, let me know. Or my friend had the same problem and this is what they did. And then they got success. So if you want to move forward on that, just let me know. So it's not you telling people what to do. It's, this is what I did, and this is what they did. So that kind of helped their problem. That's it. They just want to see real life testimonials that has worked. So you still invite people. Of course, you're constantly inviting people to look at your business and your products. I mean, that's something that you consistently should do by your conversations. Was my first freemium? Mine, I believe, was a meal plan, and it's still living to this day. So if you want my meal plan, it's a 7-day meal plan that people usually follow it, and they'll lose about 5 to 7 pounds in the first week. And I also give away a library of workouts that's in a YouTube private playlist. So that's at 21dayleanout.com. That was my first freemium. So 21 Day Lean Out is where you can get my meal plan as well as the playlist and the workouts that go there. And I've got a private membership portal called 10xfitclub.com. And that's for people who do make a purchase with me. They go in there and they get a lot of extra stuff, including live or recorded workouts with Shalene Johnson herself and some of my other ones as well. So those are the things with your freemiums. You definitely have to have a lot of different ones that speak to your niche. So I'm not going to, of course, just offer a meal plan because that's the business I'm in. I'm a fitness professional, so it does make sense. I've been doing it for 24 years. And hopefully this was beneficial. Anything else you want to add, Amanda, as we wrap this up?
No, I think we covered a lot. And thank you so much for having me on tonight. This was awesome.
Thanks again so much. Appreciate it. And you kick butt, and I'm so proud of you for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.